Good evening, people. Welcome to Reaching Out with Eddie, where my guest today is Weston Linderman, City Council person for Ward 5. Weston, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, man, just tell people what's going on. I have questions. I know they have questions. So we're going to open up the phone lines, and I want you guys to leave your comments in the comment section of the podcast. But Weston, what's been going on? How's the campaign going? Tell us about the campaign. Just tell us what's going on. And definitely you got to touch upon your life being threatened and that kind of thing. I think that was the last thing, one of the things that we discussed. I don't know whether you've been back since then, have you?
I was just trying to think, when was the last time I was here, and what did we talk about? Because so much happens day to day, it's hard to keep up sometimes between a 3 or 4 week period. As far as the threats, as far as I know, there isn't any new information on that. It's amazing, though, how many people reach out to me anytime something like that becomes public. Because I had a large number of people reach out to me about Officer Cole and their dealings with him. So, of course, I collected all of that information, documented it, and gave it to the authorities. But as far as I know, nothing has taken place in terms of disciplining Howard Cole. I was planning to ask the police chief this at the most recent council meeting, but he left early. The council meeting before this last one, I was actually out sick, so I wasn't able to be there to ask these questions. But they should expect me to be asking questions at the next council meeting, assuming the chief is going to be present.
So what if the chief is not there? What would you do then? Isn't it something that you can do? Did he break any charges? Was it phone harassment? It's just if you had these allegations, I think perhaps you should be able to write them up and perhaps even give it to the chief or even bring it before the governing authority.
Here's the thing. The mayor, CAO, and police chief already have all of the evidence that I gave them, which included about 30 pages of screenshots, which were text messages between Howard Cole and one of his informants, in which he was very explicitly offering to drop charges, help them get their charges dropped in return for drugs, money, things of that nature. He was helping someone with, I believe, the purchase of, or at least the acquisition of guns, as well as locating my address and thinly veiled threats, essentially.
So what about your, we just going to call him the guy that reached out to you and gave you this information. What about him? What type of relationship do you still have with him? Do you still have a relationship with him?
Well, as far as I know, he's been willing to cooperate with law enforcement since day one. And so for the administration to act like they don't have enough information to go off of to make a decision on whether or not to suspend Howard Cole, I think the only thing you need to know there is consider all the other people who've been suspended or terminated by this administration for much, much less, with even less evidence than what exists regarding this officer. So with that in mind, I don't think they have any excuse for their lack of disciplining Officer Cole, and they're going to be held accountable because here's the thing. Chief Reed actually said the night he was confirmed, when asked by Councilwoman Houston whether or not he would look into these allegations that I had made, he said emphatically that he would be investigating and taking seriously all of these things. Now, since then, he's been on a radio show where he completely dismissed the notion that there was any credibility to these allegations and said that, as far as he knows, no federal agency or state agency had actually come into town to investigate these things, which I believe to be correct. At least he said one thing that's correct. No state or federal agency has come in yet to investigate these things, to my knowledge or to Chief Reed's knowledge. So he said these things on a radio show, completely dismissing the idea that these allegations had any merit. I'll say, as far as the federal and state authorities go, the FBI has yet to follow up with me. The AG's office has shown that they're completely incapable of even reading emails properly. They're all working remotely currently. They're not in their office.
So what do you mean by that? The AG's office.
I'm going to try once more to get them to come to Meridian and have a meeting with myself and another individual who has information to give them. But my next step is to just publicly, put them on notice and let the Attorney General herself know that her office is completely failing to do their job at the moment. The text messages I have with an Attorney General's investigator, you wouldn't believe it. They are actually incapable of opening an email attachment. I tried repeatedly in multiple ways through Dropbox, Google Drive, basic text messages and emails to send them the evidence that I have. They've shown basically zero interest in having any initiative to get to the bottom of this, let alone to seek out any information whatsoever. Difficulty in opening an email attachment at the Attorney General's office for the state of Mississippi. That is setting the bar pretty low.
And it's almost unreal. It's almost unbelievable.
Right. I'm thinking, how do people get a job at the AG's office in this state? Like, what are the requirements? You can't even open an email attachment. I mean, that's what I'm working with here. So when people ask me, you know, what is the latest on this, the latest is the state of Mississippi, when it comes to, you know, corruption and investigating it, you've got a pretty incredible state auditor in Chad White, who's got, you know, staffing limitations and a limit on his resources, but they do the best they can. And then you've got an Attorney General's office that can't even open email attachments. So that's just a complete failure of the system.
Well, you can get around that. All you got to do is just copy all that, mail it to them.
Well, I tried to get them to do a meeting. They said they'd meet me in the parking lot at the AG's office.
I'll meet them there.
Yeah, well, I'd like to be taken a little more seriously than a meeting in a parking lot, but, you know.
But, it could be that they don't want it. It could be because of COVID. I wouldn't care.
It's a convenient excuse.
You got to give it to them. You know, you got to give it to them. In other words, you got to box them in. In other words, if they can't open it up, then I'll send it to them. If they want to meet, send it to them.
Right.
Send it to them certified mail where they got to sign for it.
Here's the thing, though. We pay our tax dollars to fund the Attorney General's office, and they should show the initiative to come to Meridian as they would for, you know, if the mayor sent in a complaint to the Attorney General's office and said that his life was being threatened by a police officer, I guarantee you they would be at City Hall asking questions the very same day, if not just the next day. But in this case, they've waited over a month to do absolutely nothing. They've shown zero interest in zero initiative to do anything. So I'm giving them essentially one more chance, and then I'm going to be putting Lynn Fitch on notice that her office is completely failing to do their job, because I'm sure she doesn't know.
Right.
And that's just the reality of state agencies. They're massive organizations that are often run by politicians with little management experience. And in this case, I don't know Lynn Fitch, but if she has aspirations to higher office beyond Attorney General, then I think she's going to want to, you know, fix this situation in her office. Because if I'm having difficulty as a sitting councilman and a mayoral candidate in getting their attention, imagine what that's like for the average citizen trying to contact the Public Integrity Division.
Well, I've tried that before too, and I got a similar runaround from the investigators. Not necessarily, they always seem to have an answer on how not to do their job.
Yeah. And
they look for a reason not to do their job.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And when you're dealing with, you know, something of this level of severity, threats on your life in this case, the last thing you want to do is jump through hoops to deal with a frustrating, you know, inept administration in some office far away that doesn't even want to answer phone calls or emails. So it's a very frustrating process. But the one thing that there is no excuse for is for this administration to ignore the facts that they've had in their possession, to get on TV and lie multiple times in the way that they've done, saying that they've offered me protection, saying that they would investigate. They haven't done any of these things. And eventually they're going to be held accountable.
So let me ask you this. Can you go back before the council? Can you go before the council again and ask them to investigate the Meridian Police Department? Can you still do that?
Oh, absolutely. I could always bring the motion up
I think
again.
you should probably bring it up again because from what I'm understanding, what about when perhaps maybe Wayne Davis is, just look at you and perhaps maybe Fannie Mae Johnson and Kim Bonner Houston think that you have an ulterior motive, that you're doing this for a reason? Speak about that, you know.
Well, look, a lot has been said in recent weeks by my fellow council members regarding me. You know, there was a work session recently where Kim Houston asked us to donate water to the schools, and I made a Facebook post saying that the water fountains were turned off and that they needed donations of water, cases of water to the schools. And I got about $200 worth of water that was donated to me to deliver to the schools. And next thing I know, I'm seeing on Facebook comments from Kim Houston saying that there isn't a water situation and some people are just being politically motivated to make it seem like there's an issue and that this was all theatrics. So I'm dealing with stuff like that on the council.
But here's what
they believe everything's an ulterior motive.
let's say, yeah, it is an ulterior motive. We want our children to be okay. We
Right.
want them to have water.
Well,
And the
yeah.
fact that he's running for public office is just that he thinks that he can do a better job than the current administration. He thinks that he can serve this community better as mayor. And I agree with that. And for Kim, I got to say this to you and any of the other governing authority with the Meridian, the city of Meridian. If you have any evidence or any inclination that there's corruption with Meridian Police Department, and you know that because 4 have been arrested already, then you should ask for an investigation. It does not matter whether or not Weston is running for mayor or you running for mayor, whoever. We don't care about any of those things. It seems that you're just looking for a reason on why not to do something.
They continue to float this idea of an ulterior motive or a hidden agenda, but the thing is, for going on 3 years now, there's been nothing hidden about the agenda. I've made it perfectly clear. I'm against this administration. I'm against what they've been doing. I'm against the status quo and the establishment, old money people in this town who've run things for far too long, and there's nothing hidden about it. In fact, what's hidden is the motives of people like Kim Houston who pretend as if they haven't already told people in their family that they want to be the first female governor of the state of Mississippi. So when you talk about political ambition, you should at least be honest about it. And you know, I haven't made any suspicious statements about my political ambition. I do want to be the next mayor of Meridian, but this idea that all of my acts are driven through some malicious intent or through some sort of hidden agenda is completely ridiculous, and I can't even take her seriously as a council person at this point. Her disregard for the rules recently at the most recent city council meeting, Larry Gill was coming up for appointment to the Tourism Commission, and he was on the agenda. The agenda goes out Thursday afternoon. Per the city council's rules governing our meetings, once that agenda goes out on Thursday, that is the agenda for the meeting. Well, Friday morning, Kim had the agenda changed to remove him from the agenda. But you can only do so by majority vote of the council at the meeting. So I made an issue about this, posted it on Facebook, saying that they should at least not be so transparent about the fact that they're having behind closed door meetings. And wouldn't you know it, the agenda changed again before Tuesday's meeting multiple times. So they don't like following the rules, but even more so, they don't like being called out for not following the rules. And if the only way they can distract from that point is to say that I have a hidden agenda, let them say it, because that's a pretty weak argument at this point.
And I want to say this about hidden agendas. I'll agree with you, Kim. Let's say he does have a hidden agenda, but he doesn't. He made his motives clear about everything. But the people got to be more important than any hidden agenda. What's going on in this community, the corruption, all this is way more important than anyone's hidden agenda. Again, you're treating us too shallow. We have the ability to discern, to tell who's for us and who's not for us. We have the ability to look at everybody's report card, including yours, Ken. What have you done? And we don't need to know what you're going to do. We want to know what you've done and what Weston Linderman has done since day one. And he's been transparent, and he's made. He learned his job, he learned it well, and he's been holding you guys accountable. He's been holding this administration accountable. And I want to ask you one question. How is it that the Meridian City Council, you guys, I don't know whether you voted for it too, how were you able to give person money? And if you did so, why, when there has not been a bid, when you don't know how much money that's going to be spent?
I voted against it. I was the only person to vote against it.
How about I assume that, but I didn't know.
Right.
But here you say that.
So here's what happened. It actually is going out for bids. The vote that took place on Tuesday was to allocate an additional sum of around $90,000 from the city's legislative budget, which is council-controlled money, to, well, it's all controlled by the council, but that's the way the council, typically describes this fund, is that it's in the legislative account, right? So we transferred that $90,000 to Parks and Recreation so that they would have the money in their budget to send out for bids this project that would cost a little over $400,000, I think. So it's the insurance money, which is some $300,000 figure, plus the now $90,000. So
I got to ask you,
it is going out for bids, though.
I understand it. Why would you need $90,000 to send out for bids? What costs $90,000?
They apparently got quotes from, I don't know where exactly, but they got quotes on how much 3 different options for rebuilding the Frank Cochran Center would cost. The first option was the bare minimum, that being the like basically reverting back to what it was before it burned down. In addition to, I believe, a new air condition unit, because I think the air condition was already going out. And we're not going to pay for that until the spring, so that total cost will actually change in the spring. Option number 2 had a little bit extra, and then option number 3 had a lot extra. And that was, I believe, Percy's intention was to get option number 3, if I'm not mistaken, which included basketball courts, and they had this whole idea about travel-based basketball tournaments, similar to what they've done at QV Sykes with travel baseball.
Is this for our children or for traveling teams that's coming from elsewhere?
Well, they would say both. It seemed to Councilwoman Johnson and myself that they had the intention of mostly catering to out-of-town people.
Person, we're just not, and I got to say this to you, person, I'm talking to you. You need to get Tool Belt. I promise you, Tool Belt can repair that thing. I'm talking about the number 3 bid. Tool Belt can go in there and do it, and he's going to have Dyson. He know he's going to get me to help him, and I promise you, you'll have money left.
Oh, well, no doubt.
I'm just telling you the truth.
I guarantee the project will cost more than it would in a private development, just simply because they're going to, make sure that the costs overrun like they always do.
But I got to ask you, doesn't the insurance company have what you call what they call residual holdback? Doesn't the policy call for that? Don't you guys have what you have loss of use on buildings when they burn down, and also you have a complete replacement. You have replacement value, and then you have actual cash value. And I don't think anyone in their right mind would insure their property and get actual cash value. If I get the actual cash value of this, it's a lot different than full replacement costs. If I pay for full replacement costs, then if it costs me $10 million to rebuild this, that's what the insurance company is going to pay. I think that's something you should look into.
Definitely. I'm not that well versed in how property insurance works. So
all you got to do is look at your policy and see what it has in there. In the rider, what does it have? What's in there? Is it has full replacement value, meaning that they're going to pay you guys, that you have to go in there and once you spend X amount of dollars that's in your policy, and when you go back and you spend that money, they're going to pay for the full replacement value is what they're going to give you. The actual cash value, they're definitely not going to do that.
Well, I'll have to investigate that one further. So that's the latest on the Frank Cochran Center. The council voted 4-1 to give that additional money to Parks and Recreation. The reason I voted against it above all else was because we just completed the budget process a little over a month ago. And one thing I've repeated over and over again is we have all of these capital projects throughout the city. Buildings that need renovations done, things that need purchasing. We may have to actually relocate the police department pretty soon. There hasn't been a lot of public conversation about this, but we are currently in a negotiation regarding the purchase of the police department from David Watkins, who is a developer who got in some trouble in Jackson related to that development deal back in Sherry Berry's administration. And I can't get into all of the specifics of that just yet because it's potential litigation and it would interfere with the city's prospects of purchasing the building. But we have to keep in mind all of our capital assets, our buildings, vehicles, etc. Anytime we make a budget for the city, and to come a month after we just set a budget and do an amendment of $90,000 for the Frank Cochran Center is completely ridiculous. We're so used to, this wasn't even on the agenda for Tuesday. It was added to the agenda last minute. And this rushed decision-making process is completely ridiculous, and so I voted against it for that reason alone.
And we appreciate you. And so, again, you're demonstrating to us how government should be run, how it should be done on a municipal level. And Kim is demonstrating to us again how she's just not community-oriented. I mean,
well, in this case, it's just
I'm so tired of old money. I'm so tired of old money continue to benefit. Now, even the Children's Museum, it's a good thing because it's for the children, but it's not going to make money. Well, it's going to lose money. No. I do not see it making any money. You don't even have proper parking place. Again, it's about mortar, brick, mortar, steel, and electrical. That's Tom and Rebecca Delaney, that's Structure Steel, and Alexander, that's A&B Electric. And what's that guy named Bob Luke that's always doing all the planning and doing
the
everything?
architect.
I mean, the architect, I mean, the same group of people.
Speaking of which, I recently received a settlement offer from Mr. Luke regarding his litigation against me. He claimed that I defamed him intentionally and maliciously with my criticism of him and his business practices, mostly related to the master plan that he did for downtown Meridian. Or rather that he didn't do, because it took him over 2 years to do what was supposed to be an emergency project. He only got the contract, he said, because it was an emergency. But anyway, he offered me a settlement that included paying his legal fees, which is around $40,000 so far, and a public apology saying that I did not mean to be wrong about the things I said about him, but that I was misinformed. So I responded to that, basically saying that that is completely ridiculous, and that we'll see him on December 4th for our depositions, which I'm going to film on Facebook Live. I'm going to show the whole world our depositions, and they can watch Mr. Luke, well, hopefully not lie under oath, but we're going to expose him if he does.
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, you know, Tavio just came. Tavio, how you doing?
Hey everybody, he went over a lot of stuff while you was out.
He did.
That was a lot at
over
once.
that police station real quick. Now we just got the police station.
Well, I can't get into the details of that.
What are
just
they getting
yet.
ready to do with the police station?
I can't
didn't hear
talk
you
about it.
right.
We're in negotiations to purchase the building, and it involves potential litigation. And so, for me to say much more than that would
I gotta say this: you
potentially
guys
interfere with
just cannot buy that building there. You just cannot. You spend enough money to have built a police station that size.
it's a really messy situation, and I can't believe we're in this situation. I wish I could say more at the moment, but we'll have to cover this one at some other time. Now, I do want to go back to what's going on inside the police station, and let you guys know that about 2 weeks ago I requested William Brunel's timesheets for the month of October, and have yet to get a response from the administration, even confirming that they intend to give me those timesheets.
Why did you ask for his timesheet?
Well, I believe he's being paid as a captain when he's not actually a police captain. He's a lieutenant. And the fact that he's a lieutenant was also a subject of, criticism and questioning. He should have been investigated thoroughly by the Civil Service Commission for his promotion given to him by Interim Chief Coleman. But, as we know, the Civil Service Commission dropped the ball on that one. And the council showed no willingness to investigate either. So, he is a lieutenant, but I bet you he's being paid as a captain, and as soon as they give me those timesheets, if you remember the last time I requested timesheets, it eventually led to the indictment of 4 officers.
That's right.
We might get a 5th.
That's right.
So
That's right.
they're going to have to give me the timesheets. They're delaying. Their own electronic timekeeping system now. They could have given it to me by now, but they're
they
choosing
don't
to
want
delay.
William Brunel, because if William Brunel go to jail, he gonna squeal. He got things that he can tell.
I'm sure they're very unhappy with the fact that I've asked for these, but they could have given it to me in no time at all, since they keep time electronically now. Their excuse 2 years ago, or I guess it's over 2 years now, 2.5 years ago when I requested those other timesheets, was that it took a long time to compile all the information, because I asked for 2 years of timesheets that have been kept on paper back then. But now this is electronic timekeeping. They could have already given it to me.
Yeah. So have you filled out your paperwork to run as a candidate for mayor yet, or you just campaigning?
Have to wait till January to actually file that paperwork. That's when the qualifying period begins. But I've established a political action committee and filled out all the paperwork for that, turned it in with the municipal clerk's office. The political action committee is called Meridian's Future. That's running, along lines of the campaign slogan that you'll see on our yard signs. And I got to say, I saw a Percy Bland re-election sign in an unexpected place earlier this week in front of a local doctor's house on Poplar Springs Drive.
That's right.
And I got to say, I was baffled to see not only the same re-election sign from 4 years ago, but the addition to the sign now is "Keep Moving Meridian Forward Together," or something like that.
And that's just not happening.
Yeah.
Only thing we're moving forward is him and his cronies. We're going to take a break in a moment. Is there anything else you want to say?
Well, I just wanted to say on that note, who is seeing forward progress in Meridian these days? It's not most people.
That's right.
And I think that's a very easy message to convey to the people. But we're going to go a step further and tell the people why our campaign is the one that is going to move Meridian forward. And it's about Meridian's future. That's what it comes down to.
That's right.
So we've established this political action committee. We're heavily soliciting funds to get going, and we're not soliciting funds from special interests in the way that Percy and other mayoral candidates have done in the past. We're making sure that all of our money doesn't come with strings attached. And we're going to run a camp. Even if I have half the money that he has, at the end of the day, it's not going to be from engineering firms and people who expect to get something in return in a self-interested way.
That's right.
The thing that you're getting in return is a better city and a better future for the people of the city, not a special interest for people who only are in it for themselves.
Well, Weston, I got to tell you, man, we really appreciate you being here. But we're going to take a break, and then I want you to sit here for a moment and see what kind of comments you folks leave. You might have questions for him so he can sit here. So, Dice, man, let's go to break. Anything you want to say, Tavio?
Let's go to break.
All right.
That's what I got to say.
All right. Let's go to break, Dice. Folks, I want to welcome you back to the podcast. With my guest today is Weston Linderman and Tavio Rand. Tavio, how you been doing?
I'm fine. You hit on a good point that everybody needs to take note on. That's their insurance at cost.
That's right.
Because if your house get burned or a tornado come through and that 2x4 costs $1.80, back then
it costs $6 now.
And they'll replace it at cost of what you paid for it back then.
Yeah.
So you need to redo your insurance, people.
That's right. You have actual cash value, and then you have full replacement value. So make sure you know the difference between the two, because one will make you whole again, one won't. And then I want to tell you guys too about content. Insurance company depreciate content 25% every year. So after the first year, 75, second year, 50, third year, 25, fourth year, they can give you what they want to. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that so you can understand what's going on with your policy. Weston, I want to thank you for coming in. Dice, man, we want to read those comments. Do we have some comments over there?
We do. Give me 1 second to pull them up.
Yeah, we're going to pull those comments up. One of the things that I want to talk about this at Weston, and I do suggest that you look at the contract that David Watkins and Sherry Berry signed during the Berry administration. The reason why I want you to look at that, because through finagling, probably Richard McAllister and the twins, we were able to get a copy of the contracts. And Sherry Berry, you have two contracts, people. Like, you understand, everybody has to get a copy of it. So on the page where Sherry Berry signed her name, Donald Watkins did not sign his name. And in a totally separate contract, the same contract, but a copy of it, Donald Watkins signed it and Sherry Berry did not sign it. So what you have here is a contract that was signed by both people, but nobody signed on the same page. And I'm speculating the reason why they did that is because so many things was done illegal. David Watkins was taking money from other projects and fixed it, and he got in a lot of trouble with that. And so I strongly suggest that you look at those contracts also.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because if you see that it's not a valid contract, then you guys are not obligated anyway. And if I'm not mistaken, for the first year, it was something like $24,000 for insurance, and after the first 12 months, it went up to like about $52,000. And you saying it has tripled since then, so you're talking about something like about $150,000 a month. That's way too much. You could have built a state-of-the-art police station for about $11 million, if I'm not mistaken. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
By the time they went into that police station, folks, they had already spent $20 million. They could have built 2 police stations, 1,100 square feet for that same money. So it's definitely, people are being paid and a lot of illegal things going on. And at some point in time, and I think that's the reason why I want to run for city council. I want to run for city council because I want to do what Weston doing. I want Meridian better for everybody. I want this old money that continue to benefit, and the city is dying. Even during this administration, we have less people living here, more houses are torn down, the cost of living has went up, and quality of life has went down. There's no reason why we should continue to keep him in office. It's time to fire him like we fired Donald Trump.
That's what's so insulting about his campaign slogan that's on his signs this time around, is it's pretending like the people in the city don't realize we're living in a dying city, saying that they're going to continue moving Meridian forward if you re-elect Percy Bland. I mean, how much more insulting can it get? Like, we don't realize we're living in a city that's dying?
And folks, the apple don't fall far from the tree. And Michael Bland's already gone. His business went belly up. And I'm told that Percy Bland business is being investigated. Yes, you heard it here, that his State Farm office is being investigated. I don't know why, but I was told that. And then you can look how he's running this city. We can't give anybody that kind of power to utilize it just to benefit themselves and their family. Dice Man, what about those comments?
Okay. What we got here? Okay, we got Tracy Holt says, "Hey everyone."
Hey, baby. That's my daughter there, Weston. She is so
Okay.
beautiful. Man, she's beautiful. She's just holding on to her beauty and everything. Jeffrey, man, you better hold on to her tight. Her husband's a fool.
Oh, okay.
He ain't going.
Well,
Okay. What's up, Tracy? Louise Jones says, "Hello everyone. Hope you had a blessed day."
Hey, Louise.
Thais E says, "Good evening, everyone."
What's
Baby.
up, Thais?
So Thais. Phoenicia Lake, if I'm saying that right, says, "Hello everyone."
Hey, Miss Lake. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it.
no.
Hey, Miss Lake. Ellen Franklin says, "Top of the evening, peeps."
What's up,
Good
Marie?
evening.
What's up, Miss Franklin? Belinda Williams says, "Weston Linderman is a good guy. He is always looking out for the people of the city of Meridian."
Thank you.
And doing so in a legal way. That's right.
Let's see here. Loretta Bennett says, "It's mold on Meridian Police Department bathroom floor."
Wow.
And that's from the leak. Anytime there's
Yep.
leaks, it's going to be
Mhm.
mold.
Yeah, that building is not in the best shape, for
Right.
sure.
You can bring the environmental protection, the EPA,
Right.
bring them in and let them look at it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, make them condemn it.
Yeah.
That'll
Well,
get the city out of
Does it
contact.
even meet the city standards at this point? I don't know.
Probably don't.
Probably not.
We don't have an inspector that's qualified enough to go down there and do it because they don't even know.
Well, we like to pick and choose who we inspect and how tough we inspect them.
That's
at
right.
the City of Meridian. It's a lot of favoritism going on.
Yeah.
I'm told that one of the projects on North Hill Street, I can't remember if it's the Popeyes or the Burger King, did
Probably
not
Popeyes.
even meet the some of the standards for inspection, but they just looked the other way.
Popeyes, because it would not meet standards for today. I know that's the old Mr. Cook, the old restaurant location, I think, from back in the day.
Okay. Yep. I don't know all the details, but I was told by a very good source who is familiar with the details that it does not meet the appropriate standards.
I'm filing lawsuit. I'm starting y'all with discrimination,
Yep.
selective enforcement of the law.
They've
That's
been
all-
doing it.
Yeah,
there's
that's
plenty
all
of
they ever
examples.
done. They
Yep.
did the same thing with Bonita Lakes.
Yep.
Y'all better give me my water. Weston, I'm telling you. How about I get this guy this stuff, and they still have not said anything
I
to my
wondered what the latest on
Oh,
that
I'm getting
was.
back on the work session.
Okay.
I'm calling Miss Jones. I'm getting back. I'm going before the work session. I'm saying, now
Good
this
deal.
is, my 90 days started when I was here before, so y'all got 2 more months. I'm going to finish it up, everything. I'm not going to put water there until the Supreme Court say I have to. I'm suing. I'm
Yeah.
suing.
I mean,
I'm just
if you're
not
right,
going
you're
to.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Tristan B. Hampton says, "Good evening, y'all."
What's
evening.
up, Tristan?
So, Miss Hampton. Let me go down a little bit here. Fred Welch says, "Good evening, gentlemen."
Good evening.
What's up,
What
Fred?
up, Fred? And you know, up in Kemper County, they have like 13 students that's been affected by COVID.
Really?
And with Fred calling me, that's reminding me of that. And then I have a letter, too, that I need to read, too, dealing with a lot of their county schools and children being infected with COVID.
Yep. How about Bedford Nursing Home in Marion has over 40 cases amongst patients and staff currently. It's a disaster. Yep.
Okay. Loretta Bennett says, "Have anybody purchased the old police department?"
Yes. Recently, the guy's name escapes me at the moment, but it was purchased. At first, we were told it was going to be an assisted living facility. Then we were told no, they've got other plans for it, but they didn't exactly say what their plans are for it. So I don't know what's going to become of that building, but it has been sold and sold in the proper legal way this time. If you remember a couple years ago, there was the attempt to sell it to the 3 Foot Brewing Company. That was actually being invested in by people like Rebecca Delaney, and there were emails that surfaced from a local architect, not the local architect that's suing me, but a competitor of his that showed that there had been a number of people interested in the old police station, and that was contrary to what the mayor was saying. 2 years ago, he was saying that there had been no one else interested in the building for about 5 or 6 years. Really, there was about a half dozen people interested in buying the building. They were just trying to give it to their preferred people. And then later there were emails found through the public records request process that showed that the city attorneys had actually conspired with this property owner, or this business owner rather, to sell the building to him for $1. But they ultimately backed up from that because they were worried, in their own words now, they put this in writing. The quote reads, "But we're concerned that the state auditor will investigate us for an illegal sale." So ultimately the building was brought back to the city and not sold. They rescinded the sale of it to avoid prosecution.
Why would they put an assisted living right there?
Yeah, it's pretty weird, isn't it? Right next to City Hall and next to a brewery. The brewery's going to be next door now. So I guess if they build a wheelchair ramp from the assisted living facility, they can wheel themselves over. And
They
have
really
a
can
beer.
tear it down because they're gonna need parking for that museum if we can get that. If we can get people to come to it.
Would be nice, but you know, I think there's plenty of parking in downtown that goes unused currently.
That's
So
right.
If we could get those junk cars out of the city parking garage, maybe
Yeah.
somebody could use them.
Okay. Giraffes. Okay. Giraffes Behind says Greg Creel
That's
purchased
the one. Yeah.
purchased the police department.
Yeah,
He's a crook, too.
Giraffes Behind is correct. I don't know about the crook allegation, but yeah, that's the guy, Greg Creel.
Okay.
Great name, by the way.
Okay. All gas. No. Okay. Well, she took that back. Loretta Bennett says Old Chicken Basket is the building.
She's showing right. That's what it used
That's
to be,
the
the
one.
old chicken
Yep, yep.
basket.
Mhm. So
And it's got those old, under the old law. Yeah, and then they got to bring it up. They don't even have the space. You got to have the space and everything.
Yeah.
It's not there.
well, you haven't heard the last of this situation. It's
Yeah.
going to come up at some point. So
Yeah.
they think that they can. I don't know why they still think they can get away with doing things the wrong way. They know people are watching. They know I'm going to call them out, and they still do these
And I
things.
promise you, they're getting paid to do so.
Oh,
They're
absolutely,
getting
no
paid.
doubt about
That
it.
brown sack boy, instead of growing tube belt, they're gonna have to be holding it like a cotton bag.
Yeah, well, that's one way to put it.
All Gas No Brakes 81 says, can we get certified retirement city removed?
Hey, that should be a goal.
That
I think
definitely need to
that
be
should a
removed.
goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what it takes to remove something
Just
like
take
that.
it
I
down.
don't think it's a serious issue.
Yeah,
like
it's not.
It's
It
not.
shouldn't
It's not
be.
very difficult
Yeah.
to do. I think the mayor can just make that happen.
Yeah.
So, mhm.
Okay. Fred Welch says, we have 3 more as of today. The high school has become a super spreader.
Wow.
She's talking about.
So now we're talking
COVID.
about 16.
I
16
believe
students.
before school started, I was on this podcast and we talked about that whole situation with the school starting back and how they had no plan in place, that they didn't have the right people at the table to come up with a plan for
Right.
starting school. And now look, before the Thanksgiving break, where what the situation has become. I mean, it was never a good idea to rush these kids into school with the COVID situation not under control. They never had a real good plan in place. They just had what they could call the plans for the sake of getting things started. And now, how many people have become infected as a result?
All I don't want to know is when that stimulus check coming. That's all I want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Fred Welch, last but not least, says 9 in the last week total.
Wow.
Now the last week. Wow. Well, I tell you what we're going to do now. Weston, I want you to close it out. Now, because me and Tavio and the Dice Man, no, let's go ahead. I want you to stay here, Tavio. Now, we had a thing where we was talking about Donald Trump. Now, Mr. Dice Man said to think that you was going to come here and you was going to enlighten us on why we either should or should not vote for Donald Trump, or either why we should or should not vote for, what his name?
Joe Biden?
Joe Biden, yeah.
I just came to spectate. I'm not a Trump or a Biden fan.
Yeah. But
I
it's,
might have a little 2 cents to add, though.
well, add your little 2 cents right now. You got the mic.
I'm not a Trump or a Biden fan. I'm with,
Yeah.
if they say bipartisan politics, hey, let's get the bipartisan in there. I'm with tripartisan, partisan, quad partisan.
get
you know.
something.
Well, here's well, I'm a fan of both of them, but I didn't vote for nobody but Biden. I'm just tell you that I'm a fan of Biden because of where he's standing at now, his platform, and what he's done. I'm a fan of Donald Trump because he don't let people know how much money he got, how much money he made. So I like that. I like other things he did too, such as the thing where he, the Truth in Sentencing, some act dealing with. So I like that.
Fair Sentencing Act.
Yeah, but I don't like nothing else about him. I don't like the fact that he embraced birtherism. But saying Barack Obama was not a president, was not born in the United States, and so he wasn't a valid president. He also referred to African nations as shithole countries. That's what Donald Trump did. He also told the congresswomen of color to go back where they came from. So we can go back to 1973 and talk about Donald Trump, but we don't have to go back that far. But let's go back. This is what he said within this year. Yeah. So what can we say about Joe Biden, Dice Man, this year? Yeah. I ain't talking about going back to throughout his life.
Right.
And then a person heart, let's go by what a person do as opposed to what they say. Now that man actually said all these things, and I'm talking about what? He said, when you got money, you can do what you want to with a woman. So we ain't going back to the 70s and the 60s and talk about somebody because everything done changed.
So more recent comments from Donald Trump.
Did you grow up in Tuxedo? See, so that means that your grandparents grew up in Tuxedo, am I right? Shoot, I probably got in a fight with your grandparents.
Well,
She'd probably call me nigger, and I probably call them cracker. But time changed. But look at me and you right here now. Right. I'm here now. I'm going to vote for you. You understand what I'm saying? So time changed. I'm not going to hold him accountable for what his parents did way back then.
However, I don't think my grandparents were racist. But,
man, I grew up on 9th Avenue. See, Tuxedo. We go to Tuxedo.
Yeah,
but I don't know whether they... See, you wouldn't know that because how old are you?
Well, and it's not like they'd admit it, but I mean, they've never said anything around me that would indicate that they were racist people.
But you understand how old you are. You're not my age.
I know what you're saying.
I'm 67.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
I'm going back to the 1950s.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your grandparents, how old are they?
Oh, my grandmother turned 89 today.
Oh, boy.
So, yep.
She done said, I done passed by your grandmama's house before, because we used to go there. I'm telling you the truth, folks. We used to go through Tuxedo. And the people in Tuxedo did not accost us, and I got friends that can tell you the same thing.
Really?
But we used to go to, is that the Wesley House? We were not allowed to go there, but we can go there now. And so we used to go there and play sometime. We'll stop and play, and we got to fighting.
Those neighborhoods weren't mixed back then? I thought they had a good mix of...
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought so.
Highway Village was all white. All white, and all
really?
them houses around there was white folks living there. And guess what?
I'm really showing my age now.
Hold on. Let me tell you what black people live. They always they build black communities and black schools near graveyards and ditches. If you don't believe me, look at Magnolia, right by Magnolia Creek. Look at Carver, right by a ditch. Look at Southside, by them railroad tracks, right? And you look at like at 9th Avenue. Magnolia Creek come right through there. And how about we used to have like what Huttonall's is on 10th Avenue? It was Moe's Groceries right there. They had houses there, little shotgun houses that had to be up like on bricks like 9 feet tall. So when the water came through there, the people couldn't even leave their house.
Wow.
So yeah, that's how it was. So I've seen that. Yep. So Joe Biden has his transition staff, over 52% of it are women. Yeah. I'm talking about 41% are people of color. So we can't go back to how Joe Biden was back then. We got to judge that man how he is today. And he's showing that he's the kind of person that we need because he's reaching out to everybody and bring them in there and not for corruption. But
when it comes to us, they always go back to our background, though.
I understand.
The 1990s crime bill that a lot of people will attach to
1994, the crime bill in 1994.
That's the one, yeah.
But you got to understand.
Horrible as it is, I think you're exactly right. It's important to look at what Biden is saying and doing now versus what he did, 30 years ago.
And he saw that was a mistake, and he's done things since then, even with the, I think it's the Truth in Sentencing Act that Barack Obama signed. Donald Trump did something there, the First Step Act. That's what Donald Trump did. But under Barack Obama did a lot. He did a lot of great things. Some of you would say that, hey, he didn't hire that many black people working there. But what his name, Rahm Emanuel and Loretta Lynch were the only black people he hired. But he did so many things. He did sign that Truth in Sentencing Act where the disparity between cocaine was 100 to 1. They brought it down to, I think, 19 to 1 or 15 to 1 or something like that. And freed a lot of people once he did that. A lot of people were able to get out of jail under that. And, of course, with Donald Trump, he did the First Step Act, and that caused a lot of people, again, to get out. And
we got to free them on their weed.
But you still got to look at what he's saying. He embraced birtherism, and so you got a lot. If you was to go back and start the first 12 president, the first 12 out of the first 18 president of the United States had slaves.
Yeah.
So you can't go back and just look at what a person did back then. Yeah, they do. They're going to look at our background because they look at us so many different ways, but it depends on who's looking at us. But then you have a lot of us treat us. I seen somebody named today that was absolutely horrible, and I went back and I looked at the Newsweek, and I saw that Newsweek is actually, it was a couple of people that was fired by Fox News for lying and doing something unethical. They work for Newsweek now. Newsweek is more conservative than Fox. It said that out of 5,000 people that visit their website, every last one of them were over 45 and white Republican, ultra-conservative males. That does not look like you or sound like you, and does not sound like you, Dice, or look like you. And Dice, you the one told me look at that. And then I looked at NTD.
Yeah, these right-wing propaganda machines, Breitbart, Newsweek, publications like that are what fuel like the birtherism conspiracy theories and these other ridiculous things that we hear from the right these days. And I wish we could just get back to a place in American politics, in Meridian also, where we're talking about the issues and debating the issues and not ridiculous conspiracy theories. And if you remember, like the Pizzagate conspiracy, where a bunch of armed Trump supporters went into a pizza parlor in Washington D.C. and demanded to see the basement because they thought it was like a pedophile ring or something that was being coordinated by the president's chief of staff, Barack Obama's chief of staff, and they didn't even have a basement at the pizza parlor. And like these things are fueled by these right-wing publications that are funded by billionaires who only want their interests to be served by the politicians in Washington. These older white Republicans are the ones who were falling for those messages. It's ridiculous, I think.
Yeah, and I tell you something else too. One of the things that Donald Trump also does is that he's creating policies and using rhetoric that marginalize people of color. That's one thing that he's constantly doing. Donald Trump is actually sitting back laughing at everybody. All those people that are following him and those 70 million people that voted for him, he's probably laughing at them because they're believing his lies. They're believing his BS. But anything you want to say to the people, Weston, before we close out?
I just want to say thanks for having me on again. The campaign is really picking up steam in the next month as we prepare for January to really kick things off, where we're going to be doing canvassing, going door to door. The campaign office it will soon be stocked with our signs and campaign literature that we're going to be passing out. And for the next month, we're really in fundraising mode because we know that Percy is going to have his coalition of special interests funding him. He probably has money left over from 4 years ago when he ran.
I doubt it.
Well, maybe not, but
you got to assume that he does. That he'll have more money.
Right, you got to assume, and but we're not going to let that dissuade us or get us down in any way because we know that the places that his money is coming from is different than the places our money is coming from, and it does. It takes money to run campaigns, but that's where our focus is for the next month through the holiday season, and then come January, we are going to be ready to hit the ground running for the next 6 months and get a win, get a big win, because we need a mandate to lead. The things that I'm going to be trying to do against the special interests in this town who've run things for so long, if I don't win by a large majority vote, it's going to be so much harder to get things done. If I win by a small vote, a small percentage, it's going to be very, very difficult to make the kind of systemic change that we need. Because I'm going to face a council, a board of supervisors, and just an establishment that's so entrenched.
You don't see what I see. What I see is that when you go in, that we're going to change out the governing authority also. I plan to replace Dwayne Davis, and we have, I know, if I'm not mistaken, I think Rod Amos is running in 3 for city council. So we're going in with total all new people. I know somebody else that's in 3 that's running also. If I'm not mistaken, I think Bull Jennings is in 3.
Okay.
And he's going to be running.
I know Ward 1 will be competitive, so George Thomas will, very likely.
But this is what I want to say to you, George. You might as well just go ahead on and go, because if I win, and I'm going to win, Dwayne Davis, you might as well go and just pack up. I know you ain't had a chance to get settled in yet. George, I'm going to make you have a heart attack. I'm going to just tell you that. No, I'm just kidding. He ain't going to want to look at me.
Well,
he's not going to want to. I used to be a student. He ain't going to want to deal with me at all.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to deal with me if you plan on running again. Georgia needs to go and retire.
I think it's very possible we'll have 5 new council members, and we'll definitely have a new mayor. So
Yeah.
when you say change out the government authority, absolutely. And
Yeah.
then Board of Supervisors, their election's not far away. They better be on alert and on notice that
You in 3, aren't you? 5.
2.
No, you're not.
I'm in 2.
Sure is.
well,
Betty Jean down the street from you is not in. She's in 3, ain't she?
It's gonna
This
change
shit
across the
right
street.
across the street. So is he's in 2. Well, you still can run, but if you run, then I'm not gonna run. But I just tell you, we really do need to change things. Dice, anything you want to say?
No, we good, man.
Any more comments?
Let's see here. Mike Hurst says he's cracking down on collusion. He should start here. I'm sorry, the person who said that is Giraffes Behind.
okay. I was about to say Mike Hurst is a listener. How's that possible?
No.
Surely not.
This person is commenting on Mike Hurst.
Right.
And he
Okay.
says Mike Hurst says he's cracking
Yeah.
down on collusion. He should start here.
Would be great. I heard from Mike Hurst directly when the threats, when I made all that public, and his office, I think, does a pretty good job at what they do. I'd love to see him more involved in City of Meridian issues, but I understand he's got his, broader district that he's got to work for, so he can't commit all his time to Meridian. But we could sure use the resources of the Southern Prosecutor's Office to handle some serious corruption around here.
That's right. Tavia, anything you want to say before we close out?
Everybody keep listening.
Folks, the title of this show is The Most Powerful Weapon. And that's the beginning of a quote. And I'll read it to you, and I'm going to close out. And I hope you guys have a safe weekend. I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Tavia. The most powerful weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the people that are being oppressed. So I say it again, the most powerful weapon of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. And that's a way of saying, when a person have your mind, is how they control you.
That's true.
Don't let them learn and become informed. And y'all have a good evening. Dice Man, take us home.